Lights, camera, action.
Hey guys,
Hey everyone.
welcome back to the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in to our episode last week on the Iron Giant. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
And we are doing another change of pace in terms of movie genres. We had the animated movie last week, and this week we are going to a heist movie.
Which I think this is the first heist movie we've done, correct?
It is, which I'm excited about. I love heist movies.
Me too.
And it's one of the best heist movies of all time, Ocean's 11.
It's true.
So good that it was a movie like back in the
60s.
60s? Okay, I thought so. I was thinking 68, but I didn't want to say it wrong. I should have written it down. And then they remade it in the early 2000s, and it was a star-studded cast, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
So you want to kick us off?
Of course. So Ocean's 11 was released on December 7th of 2001. It was directed by Steven Soderbergh. It is starring, I've got quite the list here, so bear with me. We've got George Clooney, Julia Roberts, Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, Andy Garcia, Bernie Mac. I think this is pronounced Xiaobo Qin, Casey Affleck, Carl Reiner, Scott Caan, Ellie Gold, Eddie Jemison. Or sorry, what did I just say? Elliot Gold or Eddie Gold?
You said Ellie Gold.
Elliot Gold. I'm thinking of Ellie Golding.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that because I was pretty sure it was wrong.
Yep, and I think I pronounced gold wrong. I think it's gold. Right?
Okay.
I don't know. Anyways, backtracking a little bit. Elliot Gold, Eddie Jemison, and Don Cheadle. Sorry about that. It was distributed by Warner Bros. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 56 minutes. It's rated PG-13. It had a budget of $85 million, and the box office total was $450.7 million.
Very nice. Man, that cast list is amazing.
It's amazing.
Like, it's truly one of those cast lists that is, maybe some of it is that it has aged well because again, like Matt Damon, he was established at this point, but
not
wasn't
super big
right.
yet.
He wasn't super huge yet. Really, Clooney and Pitt were the biggest names, along with Julia Roberts. They were the three big names, and then Bernie Mac was a successful comic at the time. Rest in peace. He's passed on now. And then I'm trying to think, Don Cheadle, he was successful, but I feel like he's just continued to get bigger and bigger, especially being in Marvel.
I believe I read also that Carl Reiner was a big reason why a lot of people wanted to see the movie too.
Oh, yeah. And he plays the older gentleman, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. He was a successful movie star back in the day. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to dive into some fun facts. So kind of on the same note we were just talking about, because this movie had such a loaded cast, all of the actors had to take a significant pay cut in order to work together. Otherwise, the movie's budget would have skyrocketed. So they all agreed to this because they wanted to work together on this movie. So obviously I didn't get numbers, but all of them did get paid significantly less than what they were used to, which I thought it was cool that they were willing to do that.
Yeah, it's rare. I feel like you hear about it a little bit more nowadays just with social media because it grabs headlines like, oh, so-and-so took a pay cut so that his co-stars could get paid the same or whatever. But like, it's still pretty uncommon. It's not a big, everybody's trying to get their money. So
Right.
Yeah, it's still not super common.
Yeah. Okay. My next one, I'm going to lead off with a question for you, John.
Okay.
First, how many times have you seen this movie, would you say?
Oh, I don't know for sure, but let's just say 3 to 5.
Okay. I've only seen it twice, so my opinion probably isn't as valid, but I still remember thinking this when I first saw it and the most recent time we watched it. So I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on Don Cheadle's English accent, and have you always thought that?
I don't know that I've really thought about it too much. I guess I would say that I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I wouldn't say that it's bad, but it's not amazing either.
I think it's horrible.
Okay.
Now, I remember thinking that because I can't remember when you and I watched it together for the first time, because when we watched it together for the first time, that was my first time ever seeing this movie. And I still remember right off the bat, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is bad. Like this is a bad accent.
Really?
And yes. And apparently it has been criticized by many as the worst English accent ever in a movie.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't realize that. I mean, I will say, like, when I watch it and when he starts talking for the first time, I don't love it, but I feel like I kind of get used to it and just start to ignore it as the movie goes on. But I can totally see where people are coming from.
Right. And no hate to him. I love the actor. Like I've seen several of his movies and he does a great job. But apparently, like, some fans came up with a theory that he actually played an American who just wanted to be British, so he talks with this corny accent.
I gotcha. Okay.
And I guess Don Cheadle, like, jokingly accepted that as, like, a worthy excuse, you know?
Really?
But he actually ended up, like, giving a public apology about his accent in a speech at a Los Angeles film festival. And he just said, "Forgive me, I won't do it again." But
that's hilarious. I didn't know that.
That was funny.
Well, he's in Ocean's 13.
Yes.
And I was trying to think through that. I don't remember him having an English accent in that one.
I don't know if I've seen Ocean's 13. Have I?
You haven't. You've seen 11 and 12.
Okay. I'll have to watch 13 because I'm curious to know.
Yeah.
So on the same note of Don Cheadle, he also asked for his name to be removed from the movie entirely. It was not because of the accent.
Okay.
It wasn't because he was embarrassed about that. They don't completely come out with why he asked this, but if you watch the credits roll at the end, his name is not listed. And I wondered, I think I talked to you about this when I was researching for the podcast, John, that like I was looking up the cast list and I realized, because I was reading off the names to you to make sure I got everybody, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't include him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, now that I think about it, I don't even think I saw him. So his name is completely removed from the movie. And the only thing that he said about it was in an interview, he said that there was just some stuff that happened behind the scenes that he didn't like how it went down. And so he just said, take my name off it.
Well, that's interesting because he was in Ocean's 13.
I know.
So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but
yeah.
Oh, well.
I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah.
There's some speculation that like he wanted to be like one of the more, I can't even remember. I
wanted to be like one of the main characters.
Yeah, like George Clooney and
Right.
Brad Pitt were. So, but then he didn't. So he just, I don't know.
Huh.
And I don't know if he's, so
Interesting.
I'm not going to claim anything, but
Yeah.
so next is that this was Xiaobo Qin's first acting gig. He had never acted before. He was actually spotted by the producers at like an acrobatics rehearsal for this show he was doing. And they approached him about the role. So
That's cool.
yeah. And I believe the Ocean's movies are the only movies he's been in since. I don't think he's acted since then.
Okay.
Next, the role of the brothers who like are constantly bickering throughout the movie.
Yes. The twins.
The twins, yes. That was actually offered to a couple sets of actual brothers, one of which being Owen and Luke Wilson.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool.
I think so too. It would have been hilarious if they were the twins.
Yeah.
I love Casey Affleck and I forget the other actor who plays his brother. They both do a good job.
Yeah.
Like just very clearly getting under each other's skins.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very believable. Mm-hmm. But it would have been funny to see Owen and Luke. I love Owen
And just
Wilson.
adding another big name onto the
Right.
movie
Exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they ended up having to turn it down because of another project that I think Owen Wilson was working on.
Okay.
And then my last fact is just a few other big names that were considered for roles in this movie. So I'm sure there are more. These are just a few that I found. There were Mark Wahlberg, Bruce Willis, Alan Arkin, Johnny Depp, Mike Myers, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, Ralph Fiennes?
Oh, Ralph Fiennes. I
don't know.
I think that's how you say it. I don't remember. I know who he is. I'm pretty sure it's like Fiennes.
Yeah, he plays M in 007.
Yeah, the Daniel Craig ones.
The Daniel Craig ones, yeah, and he's in other stuff too. But that's what I know him most from.
He also plays Voldemort.
Yes, that too. That's pretty significant.
Right.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that Mark Wahlberg as well as Johnny Depp were considered for the role that Matt Damon plays, Linus.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see like specific roles. I just saw people who were considered.
Those were the only ones that I saw as far as roles. I did see all the names that you mentioned too, which Bruce Willis, I don't know what part he would have played, but that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you and I both have a newfound love and appreciation for Bruce Willis after Die Hard.
Yes.
I mean, that honestly, it might be like, it's definitely top 10
so
movies for
good.
me. It might be in my top 5.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
I mean, we've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine again, and it's so fun because I think I might have said this in our Die Hard episode that I like can understand Jake Peralta's jokes now.
Yes.
But it's like, if you've watched the show, Amy, the character Amy, like kind of gives him a hard time about it, saying that it's like really not that good.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, come on, it's so
Well, then she finally
good.
watches it with him and then she likes it.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, I liked Bruce Willis before we watched that movie just because he was a legend.
Yes, I did too.
The Red movies were good. I really liked when he showed up in the second G.I. Joe movie. And he's done plenty of other successful things. But I would have been really interested to know what role he would have played in this movie because he would have nailed it. He's just a great actor.
Yes.
But anyways, this isn't about Bruce Willis or Die Hard.
Yes.
This is about Ocean's 11. Do you have more fun facts?
No, that was all of them.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will jump into production details. I have very minimal because, surprise, surprise, a movie like this really just consisted of actually shooting the movie. There wasn't a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of CGI. Actually, I think more than likely there was probably no CGI in this movie. But as far as visual effects or even practical effects, there really aren't any practical effects either.
I have a question for you about that. What about the hotel that like collapses in the background of the scene with Don Cheadle?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. It didn't come up in my research.
Okay. I was just curious if you came across that.
I wish I knew. That'd be great to know. What I do have is that filming began on February 11th, 2001. Shooting locations include Las Vegas, New Jersey, Chicago, Los Angeles, Florida, and Burbank. The film's producer, Jerry Weintraub, I think is how you pronounce that. He was friends with the Bellagio's owner, whose name is Kirk Kerkorian. I think that's how you pronounce that. So because they were good friends, the production crew was granted access to shoot on location in the casino, which isn't like a super common thing. So I think that was really cool that they were actually there in the Bellagio shooting the movie.
Oh, they were in the Bellagio?
Yes, they were actually there.
Wow. I had read that they were in a casino, but I didn't know it was like Yeah,
they actually shot there and all the crew stayed in the hotel there and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then the pinch that was used in the film was actually based on a real life. It's named Sandia Z pinch. I don't know if that's the name of it or if that's the type of pinch, but it was based on that. However, the effect that we see in the scene, which is basically they loaded the pinch up in the back of a van, and then they power it up and it knocks out the entire power for Las Vegas. It's completely unrealistic because a pinch of that size would never be able to achieve that effect. It would have to be much larger.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And evidently the Sandia Z pinch is capable of doing that to a city, or it's that size. It's like enormous, but it's like significantly bigger than what they had in the movie. And then filming ended on June 7th, 2001. And that's all I have.
Okay. So what would you rate this movie, John?
That's a tough one. I say that probably every time we rate a movie, because this is a great movie. I mean, truly a great movie. Mm-hmm. It's just fun to watch, especially the thing about heist movies that make them good or fun to watch, interesting, whatever, is that, like, obviously I would say the majority of people have no interest in actually going and robbing a bank or robbing a casino. So it's not that it's like, oh, that resonates with me. But what's interesting about most of them is the intellectual side of it, I guess. Mm-hmm. Just the idea of like, oh, that's how they made this happen, and seeing it unravel and everything, and just that it's smart. Or sometimes, like in a different movie, maybe not this one as much, but just kind of like the thriller aspect of it, that it's intense or whatever. But this is really well done, especially the end of the movie where they start revealing all these twists that it's like, oh, what, that makes perfect sense. And we knew about it this whole time, and that plays well into the movie, but I would never guess that that's how they were going to pay it off at the end.
Yeah.
So I really do love that. And I also think that this is a movie that utilizes its cast extremely well. I never feel like George Clooney is under or overutilized, and same with Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, and everybody else. I love every scene that everybody's in, because it doesn't feel like it's like, man, like this person's getting too much screen time,
right?
Or not enough screen time, or like, just like Bernie Mac is great in every scene that he's in, but I wouldn't say that he's in the movie a ton, but it doesn't feel like he's not in the movie.
Right.
It definitely feels like an ensemble cast movie where it's done well. The screen is shared. There's plenty of group scenes. There's plenty of solo actor scenes. Like it's balanced really well. I think it's shot well too. Like I really like that the cinematography kind of highlights the orange color hue of the casino and whatnot, just kind of like that warm lighting and everything.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a lot of movies today are kind of cold blue gray.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just nice change of pace.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah. So all that build up to say that I really like this movie. I truly don't know how I would rate it, or even like I hadn't thought about it going into this. So this is very difficult for me. But I'm just going to say I'm going to give it a 94.
Okay. Well, you were pretty close to what I was going to say. I was going to give it a 93.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And I would explain, but I feel like you kind of explained everything I was thinking too. I thought it was very well done. And yeah, I won't repeat everything that you just said. So
yeah, I mean, I could almost say 92 too. That's why it's hard for me, because it's like stepping back and thinking about everything. Like I think Ocean's 13 is my favorite one out of the whole series. So if I kind of, I guess, rate it on that, but I also want to rate it independently. Like it's hard for me to judge. But this is a good movie. It's also very funny too. Like, and not like stupid humor, I guess.
Right.
I know we've mentioned that before in other movies, but like, it's just like, it's genuinely like situationally funny, as well as just like even scenes where it's like the twins arguing. Like they do it probably 3 or 4 times in the movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just goes from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds, and they are like at each other's throats. And it's, most of the time it's funny. Sometimes it's like, oh, that's what's happening, whatever. But like they do it well. And like the scene where Bernie Mac is crushing that guy's hand to get a better discount on the vans, like they're not, it's not like overtly like stupid. Like I don't feel like they're having to get cheap laughs. Like it's just done well. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, I do too.
What were some of your favorite scenes in the movie?
Well, one, kind of speaking on the same page of Bernie Mac, I really like the scene when Matt Damon is like disguised. I'm gonna just say actor names because I do not remember all the characters' names, so I apologize.
Yeah.
So Matt Damon is disguised and he comes into the casino while Bernie is working, and like
he's like an auditor for the Las Vegas the Nevada like game commission, or it's something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And they're in that room and kind of, like grilling Bernie about everything, and
which was set up.
Yes. Yes, it was all set up.
Yeah.
All part of the plan. But that whole sequence was just funny. I liked that scene.
It was hilarious when like he starts like mumbling stuff and like trying to make it like that this is all about race, and that Linus or Matt Damon is being racist and that's the only reason it's happening. Like that is hilarious, just because like when he starts saying that stuff and then Linus has to start like bending backwards like, no, I would never. I am like really trying to sell it. And you can see that the owner, I forget the name of the guy who even plays him in the movie, but the owner of the Bellagio in the movie, that he's just like so stressed out. He doesn't have time for this. He could not care less. Like, please get this over. It's just like so annoying to him that he has to be there, but like it's a legitimate like major thing he has to be there for. And just the whole scene is hilarious. And then like when Bernie acts like he's gonna attack him and like Linus freaks out and like that whole scene is hilarious.
Yes, it's so funny. Another one that I liked is when I guess this was kind of like just like not a montage, but just like a series of scenes, I guess, at the beginning. I just liked watching Brad Pitt's character like going around to gather everybody up and find different people to help out with the heist, just so that way you could kind of be introduced to each character and know like why they were chosen, so I liked that series of scenes.
Brad Pitt's character in the movie is honestly pretty interesting.
I love it. Like he has a very interesting dynamic, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's like, well, he's a facilitator in the movie. I think that's how I would describe his character. Like, he does play multiple roles during the heist. Right. But I feel like the main thing that his character does is just facilitate everything. He goes around and gets everybody, and then like, like he's the one picking George Clooney's character up from jail both times, and just stuff like that. I don't know, or maybe he doesn't the first time. Maybe it's just the second time. I don't remember, but I do know that it's just like it's interesting to not see Brad Pitt in kind of a main character role, but also like he is. Right. Again, that's just another compliment to. Well, obviously Brad, but also the writers of the movie and the director. They utilize the characters well. And I don't feel like, man, this is a waste of Brad's talent. Like, right. Yeah. He's still a great character. And I love Rusty. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Speaking of Brad Pitt, this is kind of off topic, but, I read something where it said, which I haven't seen these movies. Okay. The Austin Power movies.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw like one in high school.
But apparently the wig that he's wearing as one of his disguises is the same exact wig that Mike Myers wore. Oh, really? Like when rehearsing for that movie. Or
that is movies. Hilarious.
But yeah, sorry. Back on track. Another, I think my favorite part of the whole movie, and probably most everybody who's seen this movie, is like when you're kind of what you were talking about earlier, just like when you kind of everything starts to click, like, oh, like this was how they did everything, how they pulled everything off. And it wasn't all how it was portrayed to be, you know,
Right.
and that's why it all ended up working out. I love that because like it's been a while since I've seen it before this past time we watched it, and so it was kind of like rewatching the movie again for the first time because I just didn't remember, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's awesome, like even though I'd already
Right.
seen it. So
Yeah, you have that great reveal
Yes.
at the end where because the owner of the Bellagio, can't remember character or actor's name, but he, after they've stolen all the money and, you know, he's just like at an utter loss, and he just is kind of silent, and he's like, look at the tape. And they're like, okay. And he's like, does it say Bellagio on the floor? And they're like, no. And he's like, they weren't here. Or the video that they showed us, it was or the security camera footage that they were playing for us was a video. It wasn't live. They were here like last week, or it was a duplicate or something. And because we had the floor changed on Tuesday, and so just where it's like, oh, then you start to realize that duplicate that they made the exact duplicate of it, was they recorded all that, they played it for him, and then
the duplicate of the vault.
And then the SWAT team comes in, and that's actually them. And, you know, it's just like so crazy.
Yeah.
But the payoff is amazing. And as a viewer, I feel like this is a movie that really rewards the audience because they give you all the tools that you need to put it together, like pretty easily. But, the reveal is very surprising, but they don't tell you outright. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is they give you enough time to figure it out before they basically spell it out.
Right.
And by the time you figure it out, you're watching them tell you. So then you feel like, oh man, like that's so crazy. I can't believe, you know, it makes perfect sense. And then you're just enjoying watching it play out.
Right.
Like it's done so perfectly. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's all the scenes I can think of off the top of my head that really stood out to me.
Yeah. I, as you were kind of listing off scenes, I was trying to think of some, and I mean, it's kind of tough because I feel like you covered a lot of them that were on my mind.
Sorry, I stole your thunder.
Oh no, you're fine. I think that just speaking to the group, I guess, I love the entire group, and just even characters like Carl, what was the actor's name? He plays the older man.
Rainer?
Okay, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, Carl Rayner. Like his character is great. So he plays Saul in the movie, but then he also pretends to be like this Russian, like rich guy. I don't even know what you'd call him. And in both instances, like he's hilarious. I love that the way they distract the Bellagio owner is by basically having Saul fake having a heart attack and dying.
Yeah, which I'm sorry, I'm going to cut in, but like, I mean, obviously it was supposed to make you think there was actually something wrong with him, but
Right.
like looking back, like he even was like acting like there was something really wrong, like when he was by himself, like after Brad Pitt's character like came in to him, he was like sitting on the bed or something, and he's like, all right, are you ready to do this or whatever? And he said, yep. And then he sat there and he's like, looks all like clammy and like short of breath and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. It blew my mind.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just another payoff for the audience, because I think what you're seeing there is just the character dealing with, I guess, some of the like, I'm retired, or I'm old, and like getting back into the game. So maybe some of the nervousness, because it is like the biggest job that any of them have ever done.
Right.
Extremely high stakes. So maybe that's like what you're supposed to be seeing play out, but then they, you know, utilize that to potentially make you think that like, oh, he's actually sick.
Right.
Which, having seen it, like, I didn't think that. at least this most recent time that we watched it, that thought didn't cross my mind, but I feel like the first time I watched it, I do remember maybe thinking that.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, it doesn't take too long to be wondering in that, because then Brad Pitt comes up and he's like, somebody call a doctor, and looks like an absolute goon with that hair and everything. And just, again, anytime anything medical comes up in a movie or show, like, it just bothers me, because I, did emergency medicine for a while, and the compressions that Brad Pitt does are terrible. But that can also, I'll give him an excuse there, because he's not.
He was posing as
right.
A
He was
doctor.
posing as a doctor. He wasn't an actual doctor. So we're gonna cut him some slack on that.
I don't know if I've ever seen CPR done correctly in a movie or a TV show.
Yeah, at least up to this point. I mean, I started working after getting out of school 3 years ago. 4 years ago?
4.
Was it 4?
Yeah, because I've been teaching for 3 years.
Shoot. So yeah, it was 4 years ago. And then I had to do 2 years of clinicals prior to that. So let's call it 5 years, because I've been out of the medical field for about 6 months now. So about 5 years of medicine. And ever since I started, I have been looking for it, and I've yet to see it. I don't know if I ever will.
Yeah. I only know because I'm CPR certified. So.
Oh, you're so, yeah, yes. That's good. We need more of that. And you're a teacher, and you should be CPR certified.
Yes, I should be.
Yes. Oh, anyways. Yeah, I mean, some of the other scenes that I like, I touched on it earlier, but I think the scene where Bernie goes and gets the vans is hilarious.
Yes.
Just because, like, it takes a minute, but you realize what's happening. He just continues to squeeze this guy's hand harder and harder. And he originally says he'll sell them to him at $18,000 a piece. And he's like, okay. And he shakes his hand and then just won't let go. And the guy's face starts to get kind of serious. And he's like, if you pay cash, I can give them to you for 16. Yeah. Like, it's done well. It's very funny. Then I'm trying to think of other scenes. The scene where we are first introduced to the twins, where the little RC monster truck pulls up, and then the actual monster truck pulls up. Yeah. Like, that is very funny. And then when he's losing to the RC monster truck, he just swerves over and runs over it. Like, that's great. That's such it's just such a funny brother dynamic. Like,
yeah. I also like the scene when, at the end, when everything's being kind of played out, I guess, when they open up the van, that drove, we end up finding out by itself.
Right.
Well, not by itself, but there were no people in the car. I just like that too, because that was another moment where it was like, what is going to happen, because we don't know as an audience, like, that there's no one in the van until they open the door, and then it's like, oh my gosh, like, that's crazy. So yeah, I like that too.
To give more context, you're talking about the end of the movie when they think that when the Bellagio security believes that the white van is loaded up with all the money.
Yes.
And they chase it to the airport.
Yes.
And then, they have it, like, it's surrounded at gunpoint, and then it's revealed that they're controlling the van via remote control.
Yes.
And then they blow it up, and there's nobody in there. Yeah. And it's this big reveal. Yes. That's another one of the great reveals.
Yes. Sorry, I should have been more specific.
No, you're all right. I do love the scene where George Clooney's character his name isn't Frank in this movie. That's Bernie Mac's character. I don't remember his character's name. Anyways, George Clooney gets taken into, like, the back room at the casino where Danny, that was his name. Yes. So they take Danny into the back room, or I don't even know what you call it, where basically the casino owner has people roughed up. And so Danny's back there, and then the bodyguards step out of the room, and this huge, like, biker dude comes in, like, looks like he's like 6'8", and just, like, super strong. And then the door shuts, and he's like, hey, Danny. And like,
Well, he punches him first.
oh yeah, he punches him first. And then Danny's like, not till later. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Danny.
Yeah.
And then you find out that they're friends. And then Danny goes up through the roof, or not the roof, the ceiling. He goes up through the ceiling and ends up finding Linus, and they work together and to break into the vault. But while he's doing that and he's gone, this huge biker dude has to pretend like he's beating Danny up in there. So it cuts back to him and he's just like, oh, have you had enough? And
it's just like slamming himself into the walls.
Yeah. And like, yeah, it's so funny. I love that. I think it's hilarious. And that the guy is just like, he's so nice to Danny. And like, how's your wife? Oh, she's pregnant, you know?
Yeah.
That they obviously know each other well.
Right.
Yeah, that's another great twist.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Are you good?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure I could keep talking. But I don't know what I'd talk about. It's one of those movies where like, I feel like I could probably talk about every single scene and dissect it. But at the same time, like, I think we get the gist of it. Like, this is a heist movie that was done really well, is a lot of fun to watch all the way through from start to finish. It's interesting. Like the moment it starts, you're introduced to Brad Pitt's character with Topher Grace, who's playing himself. Like Topher Grace is just supposed to be himself as an actor who's being taught poker by Rusty. And him, as well as all his friends, are idiots. Like they have no clue what they're doing. So it's like, okay, why is Rusty wasting his time with these guys? Well, because he's trying to stay out of trouble and not be, doing illegal stuff like he used to. And, but still trying to get some of that thrill of like strategy and technique and planning and stuff like that.
Right.
But then it just continues to grow from there. And it's fun. Like it's very enjoyable film. And like I said earlier, it's probably one of the best heist movies. I really think we should probably watch The Italian Job. I've been told by many people, both the original and the newer one, that it's like the best heist movie ever. And I have not watched it. I think some of the other heist movies that we've watched is like, I guess Ant-Man is considered a heist movie, the original one, as well as Solo, the Han Solo movie is supposed
21.
Yeah, 21, heist movie. Public Enemies. Like, it's about Bonnie and Clyde, but they were, no, not Bonnie and Clyde. John Dillinger, and his girl. But, like, they were robbing banks and stuff. That was one of them. I think The Town was one, but we haven't watched that. But anyways, I've been told that out of all of them, like The Italian Job is one of the best ones.
We'll have to check it out.
Yeah, we definitely need to check it out. But anyways, I think that's all we have for this episode. So thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. If you liked what you heard, give us a thumbs up on YouTube, or we would really appreciate it if you give us a 5-star rating on Spotify. Next week, we're really excited to have another guest in the studio, and this is a new guest to the show.
Yes.
Yes, it is Emily's little sister.
Yes, my sister Maddie's going to come on, and we're going to cover Ratatouille.
Yes, another Brad Bird film.
Yes.
This is the third movie in his trifecta of great films, and actually, I believe this was the third movie that he directed. So you have The Iron Giant was his first. The Incredibles was his second. I know that's accurate, and I'm positive that Ratatouille was his third. So he's 3 for 3 bangers straight away in his directorial career.
Right.
Which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So we'll be covering that next week. It is currently streaming on Disney Plus if you want to watch it ahead of time. And with that, we hope you guys have a great week.
We will see you next time.
Love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.